The prepositional phrase often sets the scene or the backdrop for whatever's being stated. Since it's kind of like the setting of whatever's being said, it should be signed first or nearly first in the sentence. A big component of ASL is painting a picture in space. And whenever you paint a picture, you always paint the backdrop first. So it's the same idea with signing an ASL. You have to set the scene first before you give us the details. In the previous video, we looked at prepositional phrases beginning with by, and in this video, we're looking at prepositional phrases beginning with to. First sentence, I have to bring that form to the meeting next week. When time is not established or understood in a sentence, we want to go ahead and establish time first. So in this case, next week is the meeting, so we want to sign next week first. This is ideal. It's not imperative to understand exactly what's going on, but for correct ASL structure, it is ideal. So we're going to sign next week first, next week. Just a quick side note, you may notice that I'm signing next week like this as opposed to like this. Both signs are correct. You tend to see hearing people more often sign next week like this, and deaf people more often sign next week like this. This next week is utilizing the forward and back timeline. So the future is in front of us, so we're throwing next week in front of us, and the past is behind us, so we put the past here. But this way, signing next week, it utilizes the calendar. So it's like you're looking at a paper calendar, and so you have this week is right here. You'd have last week up here, right? So if it's a calendar, it would be this week, last week, the week before, and then this week, next week is here, right? It's this line here, and then the line below it will be 2 weeks from now, and so on. So when you sign next week, you're starting with the palm up, you circle in toward the thumb, and then you are drawing, you're pointing at where next week would be if you were looking at a calendar. Next week. Again, next week like this is also acceptable, but I wanted to explain why I'm signing next week like this. So again, the sentence is, I have to bring that form to the meeting next week. We're signing next week first. The prepositional phrase here is to the meeting, to the meeting. So it's next week meeting, and I should also mention that when you're signing this, your eyebrows should be up. Next week meeting, and then the rest of it, eyebrows come back down. That form I must bring, okay? That form I must bring. You can also sign next week meeting, I must bring that form. Both of those are fine ways to sign that sentence. Voice off, it would look like this. Or now if you were communicating with somebody who signs English, then you would sign that sentence following the English word order. So it would be, I have to bring that form to the meeting next week. Voice off, it would look like this. Next sentence. The third child's admission to the daycare was denied. In this sentence, the prepositional phrase is to the daycare, to the daycare. So we're going to sign that first. We're going to set that scene. So daycare or daycare. And then what happened with the daycare? They deny third child, or child is also commonly finger spelled. Okay, so either one, child or child. So you can sign daycare, they deny third child. Another way you could do this is signing the third child first, signing the third child first as the topic. So you can also sign third child, the daycare denied. You might notice that when I present to you two different options, one very important thing to keep in mind when trying to figure out how to put something in a grammatically accurate way is that the actor, the thing that's doing the acting, must come before the action, right? In ASL, it's I run. I'm the actor and I'm the one doing the running. So I should come directly before run. I run. If the daycare is doing the denying, then daycare is the actor and it must come right before the action, which is deny, to deny. So whether or not you sign daycare deny third child or third child daycare deny, in both of those instances, the sign daycare comes directly before the sign deny because daycare is the actor, the action is to deny, so those two signs have to be connected. What happens sometimes with something called, like what we'll sometimes call it like sign salad or word salad, is the words get mixed around, and in the mixing around, you end up with child deny. And it's not the child doing the denying. It's the daycare doing the denying. So in the interpretation, daycare must come right before deny. Daycare deny third child or third child topicalized. Daycare deny. Clear? If you are signing English in this sentence, then the English sentence would be the third child's admission to the daycare was denied. Okay, voice off, it would look like this. Third and final sentence, Brian and I have to go to the principal's office to discuss. The prepositional phrase here is to the principal's office. So we're going to sign that first. Principal, his office. Okay? Office is also commonly fingerspelled, and sometimes you'll see it with O's, even though this is sort of starting to go away. Okay? So the principal, his office. When you have an apostrophe S, when you have that possession, then you want to set that possession up, establish that possession with an open hand. So the principal, his office, not the principal office, but the principal, his office. Also what that does is wherever you put that possession in space, that's also where the principal is now in space. So you can continue referring to the principal right there in space. So again, prepositional phrase is to the principal's office. So we're signing principal, his office. Now the principal's established in space right there. What else are we saying about the principal's office? That Brian and I have to go there and discuss something, okay? So Brian, the two of us must go discuss. Okay, so in simple terms, that's the structure, that's how that sentence could be signed. A more advanced interpretation of that might show Brian and I. So Brian, two of us must go to, both of them together, go to, sit down, discuss, or discuss back and forth. And a third interpretation of that, that's kind of a different view of it, is you could use these two classifiers. Now, I don't mean signing go, but you could use these two classifiers, keeping this person and Brian separate and showing them both go, using the classifiers, sitting down and discussing like this. So using this keeps the two people separate if you feel like they should be separated for some reason. Like if they were in the middle of an argument, they may go separately to the principal's office to sit down and discuss. If you feel like they're together going, then you can sign two of them going like this and discussing or sitting and discussing it there, okay? So I'm gonna sign the more advanced version, but it's still okay if you just wanna sign Brian, the two of us go to discuss. That's fine. It's a simple way to do that without incorporating more higher level ASL, okay? So Brian and I have to go to the principal's office to discuss, could be signed like this. If you were signing that sentence in English, it could be signed like this. Brian and I have to go to the principal's office and discuss. Voice off, it would look like this. Notice I'm still using space when I sign English. When you sign English, you still want to incorporate as many ASL features as possible. So that might be still using the classifiers. It still uses space and other ASL features to make sure the message is still clear even though you're signing in English word order. Okay, now let's review. Let's review all three sentences in ASL together. So pick up your hands. Here is sentence one. I have to bring that form to the meeting next week. Think about how that should be signed. Ready? Here we go. Or, okay, second sentence. The third child's admission to the daycare was denied. I gave you two options for this one too. Here's one of them. Or, and the third sentence. Brian and I have to go to the principal's office to discuss. Sign it with me. Here we go. Voice off. I have to bring that form to the meeting next week. The third child's admission to the daycare was denied. Brian and I have to go to the principal's office to discuss. I have to bring that form to the meeting next week. The third child's admission to the daycare was denied. Brian and I have to go to the principal's office to discuss. I have to bring that form to the meeting next week. The third child's admission to the daycare was denied. Brian and I have to go to the principal's office to discuss. Did John come to the party? Mom already went to the grocery store. I went to their rehearsal dinner last night. Frank did not come to the board meeting. A bunch of my friends and I went to the show. So now those of you who are more beginners, I'm gonna just go through as many signs as I can remember that I just signed as possible to kind of break down exactly how the sign should be produced. So next week I kind of already explained, but you can sign next week. That starts palm down, and then you just circle out toward the tips of your fingers and then in front of you. Next week, next week. That is a very common way that you'll see interpreters and other hearing people sign next week. And then the alternate way that I sign is start with your palm actually up, and it circles in toward your thumb and then kind of traces toward or traces over where next week would be on the calendar, next week. The sign meeting is open 5 hand shapes that fit that face each other, and then you just bring the meeting together. In ASL, nouns are 2 movements usually, and verbs are 1 movement usually. So for a meeting, that's a noun. Meeting, 2 movements, meeting. I see people bending their fingers, but meeting is, your fingers should stay pretty much straight, meeting. And you can think of it as these are all the people and they're all coming together, meeting. I. Must is a bent index finger and it just goes straight down like this. Must. Bring, palms facing up. This is considered an open B hand shape, palms facing up, and then you just bring something. And it is directional. So wherever you're bringing it to, like if the meeting is there, then I would bring it toward where the meeting is set up in space. Meeting there, and I bring it to the meeting. Then I signed that. That is a Y hand shape, and then you just smack it into air, that. Form is, I'm signing paper for form. And so paper is like a relaxed open B hand shape, and then you're just smacking the hands together, but back to, how do I explain this? This way, against like the heel of the hand. It's supposed to look like paper sort of shooting out of a machine. Paper, 2 movements, paper. Then we have third, child. So children, you pat the head of the kids, children. Child, you just pat one child's head, child. And you often do see child spelled out quickly as well, child, okay? Child or child. And then we have deny. So you're just gonna reject somebody like this, deny or reject. Not deny as in I didn't do it, I'm denying that I did something or that something happened, but I am denying somebody admission, I'm turning them down. And we already discussed daycare in the previous video, daycare. You'll also see child care, child tap tap, day, finger spelled care, care. All of those are pretty acceptable for the idea of daycare. Okay, principal is a P that's circled, the letter P, so that's a K, that's a P. It circles on the back of the hand. Principal, or this is the principal of a school, okay, principal. His, all possessives are open hand. So we have personal pronouns and possessive pronouns are open hand. His office, it's the same sign as room or box, okay? You will sometimes see office with O's, but this is not so common anymore. And you also will see office spelled quickly also, often. And then I spelled Brian, the 2 of us. If I'm signing the 2 of us like this, it means I have set Brian in space on my right, and I'm referring to both of us here by using the sign this way, okay? If I set him up there, then it would be signed this way. Brian, two of us would be here, but I use this sign, which means that Brian is here in space. Must go to. Go to is the sign go to. It's also directional. So if the meeting is over there, I'm going to go to the meeting there. Principal's office is there, I'm going to go to the principal's office there, okay? I also showed you more advanced options. So we can go together using the number 2, go together to the principal's office that's set up in space over here, go to, or we could go separately, and I'm gonna keep, so instead of the sign go, which is different, go looks like this, I can use 2 people and I can show them moving toward the principal's office. You can also show them sitting down, facing each other, sitting down like this. This is a symbol. It's called a classifier for a person sitting down. So 2 people can sit down facing each other, facing front or facing each other, and having a discussion. This is the sign discuss, back and forth. Discuss, you have your non-dominant hand, palm up, closed fingers, and you use your dominant hand with a 1-hand shape, and you're just gonna tap the palm of your non-dominant hand. Tap, 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 tap. Not tap down like this, but your palm should be facing you, and then you tap it like this. Your palm should be facing back, and then you tap the palm of your dominant hand. That's the discuss. And if you and I are having a discussion, then the discuss moves back and forth like this. If I'm talking about discuss in general terms, then it just stays neutral in space. And if me and Brian are at the principal's office over here and the 2 of us are having a discussion, that's gonna move forward and back between the 2 people I have set up in space there. Now I'll quickly go over the signs that I used in the additional practice as well. I'll do those a little bit quicker. So I signed party or party. Either of those signs are acceptable for party, with P hand shape or with a Y hand shape. This sign also means play or party. Then I spelled John, and I signed show up. So my hand is like this. My hand is almost like a Star Trek. Star Trek's like this, open like this, and you just show up. Your 1-hand shape of your dominant hand shoves itself through the fingers as if this is like ground, and John just appears through the ground. Think of it like that, appearing through the ground to show up. Or you could sign to come to the party, come versus go, come versus go. Okay, mom is a 5-hand shape that taps the chin, mom. Food store. So food is 2 movements, it's a noun. Eat is 1 movement, it's a verb. Food store. Bent O's, flattened O's, facing front, and then your wrist just shake it up like this. Store, store, food store. And then finish. Finish means it already happened. It's done. Finish. Then I did last night, not last night as in final night, but past night, past night. Their wedding rehearsal practice. So wedding comes in like this, like 2 hands meeting. Wedding, 2 hands meeting, that's wedding. Rehearsal or practice is signed like this. So you have your non-dominant hand in a 1-hand shape, but it's facing to the side, palm facing you. And then you're gonna use an A hand shape with your dominant hand and rub back and forth over that index finger. This sign means to rehearse or to practice or to train. Practice, rehearse, train. This is this sign. And then I chose to show everybody sitting around eating This is eating, the action of eating, as opposed to dinner. The sign dinner is eat night, dinner. It's two quick movements to the mouth and then the sign night. But I chose to just show that it's for the wedding rehearsal, everybody sat around and ate. Okay, so I signed it a little bit differently than the exact words rehearsal, dinner. In the next one, we did board meeting. So we have that sign meeting again, we've already discussed. For a board, like a board of directors, it's a B hand shape, and it hits your left shoulder and then your right shoulder. Board, meeting, and then we did spelled Frank, not show up. There's that sign again, show up. And then I also showed you the sign skip. This sign means to skip, to not attend, to miss going to something, skip school, skip, and you're just hitting your middle finger. So your non-dominant hand, you're putting your middle finger out like that, palm facing down, and then your index finger on your dominant hand just hits that middle finger. Last sentence, show, as in a show, a theater show, and then I index where that is in my space, and then I signed my, possessive, my friend, me, and then a group of us, all of us in a group. So I'm putting my open 5, bent 5s into a group shape, like a circular shape. So all of us friends are in here, and we went to the show together. So wherever I pointed to for show, sets up show there in space, and then all of us move together toward the show. That's how you sign a group of people moving together, traveling together to a place. I think that's all the signs I use. I know that was a lot. That is it for this video. I will be doing another video on prepositions to continue reinforcing this good ASL structure. So I will see you back for that one. Bye.